Hey everybody, how are you doing today?
Right.
Good. I want to, first of all, somebody out in the crowd a moment ago, they said, I'm glad you're the keynote speaker today. And I said, I didn't know I was. But no, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I want to thank Dr. Clark, all the medical professional information that he has laid out for us and the logic and reason that's behind that. In 2 Corinthians, it tells us that where there's the Spirit of the Lord, there is liberty. And that's what we are fighting for, folks. Our founders warned us repeatedly. Benjamin Franklin, of course, said, never trade our liberty, never trade our freedoms for any amount of security. Thomas Jefferson said that when people fear the government, he called it tyranny. When the government fears the people, that's liberty. And so that is exactly what we are fighting for. This entire situation that has gone on, the government has definitely taken a problem, a problem that's happening. They've created a real crisis. They've made a bigger problem. We have a small group of us. I call us the tireless minority in the State House, and it's a handful of senators and a handful of representatives. We have been fighting this entire time. When the governor first issued the state of emergency, and in the first 15 days, there was a lot of questions. There was a lot of assumptions made. The World Health Organization, Dr. Fauci, all these people gave all this information that promoted a paralyzing fear to everyone. Do we have fear or do we have faith? We put faith over fear. We put freedom over fear. And I am very upset that so many people in this building here have turned their head to our freedoms. They've turned a blind eye in this situation. Shame on them. They continue to follow this bad advice. The CDC, of course, is every day releasing contradictory information to what they said the day before. It makes no sense. People have sound judgment, they have intuition, people can make better decisions than a bunch of government officials telling us what to do and a bunch of quote-unquote experts, okay? You and I know better how to control our own lives than the government does. That's at the heart of this argument. So the real question here, and this is what I want to get around to, there's really, the real crisis here is a mindset. It's a mindset of fear. It's a mindset that government makes these decisions for us. You guys, I have to tell you for a moment, the calls that I have received over the period of this shutdown and the constituents that I have met with, I received a call, and this broke my heart more than anything, but I received a call on Easter Sunday. My family was about to sit down to eat, and a constituent called me and said, Stewart, my wife is going to die, and I don't know what else to do. And I said, what's going on? And apparently, the doctor had refused to operate on this constituent's wife because of the governor's orders. Now, I want to say this. We constantly warn these guys. Don't let your good intention, we know where the road to good intention goes. That's what we warn them. And what do? It's ridiculous. People are dying. People are dying more because of the government reaction to COVID-19 than the actual virus itself. Wake up! It is, we have a true battle here. And what is very concerning, when we went into the State House, there's a group of legislators, my allies, my colleagues, Josiah Magnuson, Jonathan Hill, Richard Cash. There's a group of allies here that have been begging our leadership to convene session, to get us in the House and let the people's voice be heard. We have a slew of legislation. We probably have 15 bills to correct a lot of these issues. What are we doing? It's business as usual. It's holding up the bills that can really help people. in this crisis. That's what's going on.
They're all still getting paid.
One amendment that Representative Magnuson got up, thankfully, got up for at least got it up to be tabled during the debate, was tabled 85 to 34. And that amendment, all it said was that DHEC was going to be bound to the Constitution, that they could not override the liberties of the people of South Carolina. That's all it said. Why is that a big deal? These elected officials in here have taken an oath. That is tyranny.
That's right.
I cannot stand I cannot stand here and allow this to go on, folks. This has been a nightmare. As a legislator, my hands have been tied. I have called the governor, begged the governor. We have sent letters to the governor. We submitted 50,000 petitions to the governor and didn't receive a call from him, didn't receive an acknowledgement. That over 50,000 people in South Carolina were willing to sign a petition and say, Governor McMaster, this is wrong. You are depriving our families of life, liberty, and property, of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We didn't receive an acknowledgement from him. I've got to tell you this. On the National Day of Prayer, I was up here and I walked at, Governor McMaster was here too, and many pastors were here to pray over us and to pray for our nation and our state. And I walked up to Governor McMaster. I said, Governor McMaster, when are we going to open up? And he said, very soon. I know people are hurting. And right about that time, a bodyguard walks up behind me and says, sir, please social distance 6 feet back from the governor. I've had enough. I have really had enough. We need to support the people that are running against people like Lindsey Graham, Mike LaPierre. We need to support those people. We need to support people like Chris Smith, who is running for state senate. We need to support John Gallman. We need to support, there is a list of people, Eddie McCain. We need to support these people. These people are not going to trade your freedoms, your liberty for anything. And folks, the virus is real. As Dr. Clark stated, it's a real virus. But let me say something. If it was, let's say this was the plague, do you need more freedom during the plague or do you need less freedom? It makes absolutely no sense. It's not only unconstitutional what they have done, but it is illogical what they have done. It makes absolutely no sense. Why do people who run for public office and run on a platform of limited government and upholding our Constitution turn a blind eye to it when it matters most? Why do they do that?
They support the New World Order. Yeah.
And all of that is correct. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. But there's a sense in government. And let me just say this. When we went in and we had some of those votes recently, on May 12th, there was a comment made when we were debating the contact tracing. There was a comment made by the head of Ways and Means. And I think this is the problem at the heart of government. The comment was that we're not China. We're not going to kick people's doors in. Do our rights rest on elected officials being naive, or do we have a constitution? Do we have a rule of law? That's what I'm asking. Now, the U.S. Constitution says that laws contradictory are in Article 6. It says that laws contradictory to our Constitution are notwithstanding. And that's where we're seeing this thing play out across the country right now. We are seeing it play out in the courtrooms. There is a barber who has filed a suit against Governor McMaster. There are more filing suits against Governor McMaster. There are people winning these cases across the United States right now. We need to use every mechanism we have, every ability we have to rein in the government and to hold them accountable. And so, as we move forward here, folks, there's things that are going to come up here soon. We've heard recently that, guess what? All the funding that's coming from the federal government, this is very interesting because we're being told no strings attached to all this funding, all the CARES Act funding. Well, guess what? South Carolina, the state of South Carolina, is going to be held liable for that funding. if that funding is improperly used. This is a real problem. Meanwhile, we look at the Federal Reserve is printing dollars. They are trying to bankrupt the U.S. dollar in order to save the country, is what they're doing. It makes no sense. There's so many parts to this that are going on right now, folks, and we've got to pressure our elected officials. I want to thank everybody who has called their elected officials, who has called their delegation, who has called the governor's office. That's what it takes, that pressure, that tireless minority. That's what's going to change this situation. And let me say this, I am optimistic, we being the freest country in the world, that we can come back for this. I am very optimistic that we can do it. As we go very soon here, we're approaching Memorial Day. And a couple years ago, my family and I had the opportunity to go to Arlington Cemetery, Arlington National Cemetery on Memorial Day. Let me tell you, if you never visited that cemetery, you need to go there. You need to look at the price of freedom. When you see all those grave markers, and you think that so many people have paid this price, how dare these people in here not stand up for our Constitution?
That's right.
So many people have died. You can go back to the Magna Carta of 1215. So many people have died standing for what we're doing here today, for our freedom to assemble.
Liberty is not free.
We should never take these rights for granted. We can't take them for granted. We've got to press on. We've got to go on the opposite. We've got to go against what they're doing completely. So I want to thank you so much for being here today. There's so many great people speaking today. I am energized by the people that are speaking here today. And I want to ask you to continue to pray for us. Continue to call your representatives, your senators, the governor. Tell them to do the right thing. Tell them that your freedom, that if they truly believe in the people's ability to make their own decisions in life, if they truly believe in that freedom which comes from God, which is unalienable and comes from God, then they need to do the right thing now.
Amen.
God bless the United States of America. God bless our state, everybody. Thank you so much.